Let's now import the sound for our game. So we're going to go under the default layout and I'm going to select library. Under MicroLand, I am going to double click and create a new asset group that I'm going to call sound buffers. And I'm going to enter sound buffer and I'm going to open up my file explorer in the background and I'm going to select all the OJJ files that are currently located under MicroLand. You should have 6 files and select them all and simply drag and drop them on top of the library. And the first one, the Carefree, is going to be our background music. The next one is going to be the click that we are going to implement when the camera is moving from one position to another. We have the coin when we're picking up a coin. We have the jump when our little guy is jumping. The platform is when we pick 5 coins, we're going to give a audio feedback that a platform have actually been activated. And we're going to have the walk, which is that is going to simulate the step of our little guy on grass. And basically, that's all that we're going to implement. So I am going to push 1 on my viewport and I'm going to go somewhere outside of my skybox. And I am going to say object, add to render layer, sound source, and I'm going to first start with a ambient source. So what we're going to do is we are going to now enter and rename that object to be our ambient sound. So I'm going to call it, let's call it background music here, background underscore music. And I am going to access the sound source property. I'm going to enable streaming because it is somewhat of a big file. We are going to cut it into small little segment to have it play back more smoothly. So instead of loading a big file directly into the audio, we're going to split into little buffers. I'm going to drag and drop my sound buffer here, and I am going to have a quick check of how it sounds like. We got a quite bouncy little music here. And this is what is going to run in the background. So I'm going to push pause, stop on that. And I'm going to say that the state is autoplay and auto loop. So as soon as our game start, we start playing that ambient music and we keep looping it forever and ever. So I am also going to slightly adjust the position to make sure that it is at 0. And I'm going to place it right here for a question of convenience. The next sound that we're going to basically duplicate that, and we are going to create another one for the click. All the click, the coin, the platform will all be ambient sound, and the jump and the walk will be positional sound. So I am going to create 2 more sound for the click and the coin. I'm going to go under object, add to render layer, and I'm going to say sound source ambient once again. And this one, I am going to call it click. And I'm going to go under the sound source properties. And this time I will not enable streaming because it is a small sound file. So I'm simply going to drag and drop it here. And I do not want to have it at autoplay and auto loop. I am going to manually set the play. I'm going to make sure that it is at around 0. I am going to, with that selected, I'm simply going to hold Shift and D to create a duplicate of that one that I'm going to drag on the side here. And I'm going to now create the coin sound. I am going to select it by zooming in, and I am going to call it coin. And I'm going to go under sound source properties, and I'm simply going to replace the click buffer for the coin. And we are going to have 2 more to implement, and these one we want them to be positional. So we are going to go under the outliner. I'm going to type car, select our character, push dot to focus on it, and I am going to push M to put the cursor at that location. I am going to create now a new sound source, add to render layer, sound source of the type positional, and I am simply going to drag and drop it to make it more visible here. And holding shift, I'm going to select my little guy, and I am going to click on object and then attach to active. So basically this sound source will follow my little guy wherever he go. I am now going to select that sound source, and I am going to go under properties and sound source. And I am going to now attach the, we'll start with the jump. So I'm going to drag and drop the jump sound buffer into the asset slot. And since it is a positional sound, I want to increase the referral distance and the max distance. So I'm going to set that at somewhere like 1 and 5. And I'm also going to rename that sounds to be jump. And the next one that we want to do is the walk. So we are going to simply duplicate with this guy selected, Shift and D. I'm going to drag it on the side here, and I am now going to select it, and I am going to call it walk. And I am simply going to change the sound buffer here. So I'm simply going to drag and drop walk and replace to the jump. Now, with that set, I am also going to add my last sound, ambient sound, that is going to be my ambient for the platform. So I am simply going to Shift and D this guy, move it on the side, select it, and instead of coin, I'm going to call it platform. And I'm going to go under the sound source properties and simply replace coin with platform. All of these three will be triggered. Ambient sound will be triggered manually, and this one will just run automatically. For our walk and jump sound, we are going to do the same as for the coin. When we have a actual feedback coming from the gamepad, we're going to start playing those sound. So we're going to now jump in code. This one doesn't really need any type of coding whatsoever because it starts by itself, but all the others required some sort of coding. So we're going to jump to our coding layout, and we are going, since we are, let's say, pick coins. I got this file loaded right here. So let's start with pick coins. So under the MicroLand script pick coins, we are going to now add the following code. We are going to get our coin object by saying coin underscore SND for sound. Application get the scene at 0, our first scene, get the object coin, data source, sound source. And when we actually pick a coin here, what we're going to do is we are going to ensure that the sound is actually resetted by saying coin sound stop and coin sound play. So when our little guy is picking up a coin, we are going to have a sound feedback. I'm going to build and save that. And now I'm going to jump to the character controller, and at the top of the file, I am going to declare a few more variables to pick our sound. So we are having the walk sound, and if I display all the sound source here, make sure that I got all that set up. We got the walk sound. That is going to be basically the same as we did for the coin. We're picking up the scene, get the object walk, and we are accessing the sound source data block directly. And we're having the click, we're having the jump, and we're having the platform sound. And now that we have all these objects, we're basically going to implement the same kind of logic that we did. So if we are now going in our code, let me check where is that. So we're going to start, let's say, with the platform sound. And with the platform sound, every time we are activating a platform here, I'm going to say on top of that platform sound play. I'm going to do the same here, do the same here, and for our last platform here. And the next one that we're going to implement will be the, let's see, if I go down my file, we're going to implement the sound for the jump. So the jump occur when we're having our direction Z that is equal to 1. So on top of that, I'm going to say jump sound play. And for our walk, we want to create a sort of manual loop. So if our little guy is actually on the ground when we are having a direction, we're going to add the following code to actually make him play. So walk sound state is equal to stop, then make it play, to ensure that we have a cycle that is happening. Every time we're pushing, the sound is played, it reached the end. If it reached the end, we push play and we are playing it back again instead of always triggering the play. So we are going to have a smooth, basically sound transition every time we are pushing a direction and we are actually on the ground here. Same as when we're setting our motion to true to ensure that we are actually on the ground. The next one that we're going to implement is the click. So when we are actually, we're going to add a bit of logic code here. So here, what we're going to do is we want to check that we actually change angle. So I'm going to add a new variable. I'm going to add a local a equal to my angle z. And after that, I'm going to do a quick check if my angle z have actually been changed and not simply clamped. So I'm going to add this code. If my angle z is, if a is different than my final angle z after I add my 35° here, then simply run play the click sound. And I'm going to repeat the same process for my angle x. So I first gather my angle x, and then I am going to ensure that my angle x have actually been modified. And if it is modified, I am going to play my click sound. I'm going to build that and I'm going to save. And the last bit of information before we finish our game is we're going to go under properties and application, and we want to make sure that our startup scene will be now MicroLand. We're going to save. And now when we push play and push spacebar, we are now running our game. We have our coin sound, our jump sound. Let's say that I pick up 5 coin here. We can now hear that the platform sound have been activated. I also feel that on the ground we are having a slight delay, so this is no big deal. What we're going to do, we're going to select our walk sound, sound source properties, and in the pitch we are going to slightly put it down, let's say at something like 0.8. If I click shift and push play, we're going to save and run our game. Like this, the step of our little guy seems to follow way better the actual walk sound. And this is basically closing our second micro game, our 3D platformer. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you learn a thing or two about the NRG and its process. And we'll see you for the last one that would be a first-person shooter.